Hello and welcome back to my channel. Last time I talked about, maybe it was a couple times ago, I talked about the narcissist torture tactics. And I told you I was going to do a series on this. So this is the next one in that series. Last time, if you didn't see it, I did it on the smartphone and all the crazy, heinous, insidious games they play with their smartphone. So if you missed that one, go check it out. It's pretty interesting. This time I want to talk about something that is way more nefarious. In fact, this might even be the most nefarious of the torture tactics in some ways, and also the most mysterious. So this one is about the narcissist torture tactics, the spell. Alright, so one of the things that is so pivotal to understand about the narcissist is that these relationships are completely and utterly unlike anything you can ever imagine. If you're watching this channel and you have been through a narcissistic relationship, especially romantically, but not exclusively, I'm going to talk about all the different ways this plays out. If you've been through it romantically for any period of time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. These relationships function completely different. You will find yourself doing things you never dreamed of. You will find yourself saying things you probably never dreamed of. You will find yourself acting completely out of character for yourself, how you've always operated, who you are, who your core identity is. Because you lose your core identity in various ways when you're with these people. Because while you are up here and they're down here on the vibrational scale, when you meet, you're a person of the light, they're darkness, and you didn't know it, slowly they piggyback off of you and they grab your energy and they start to replace it and they move. Now, I'm not saying necessarily they get above you, but they pull you down with them into the muck, into this terrible small state of being that they're in, where they're just existing. It's not a life. It's not really. So they're going to pull you down into that. That's what happens over the course of the relationship. And you will, like I said, say and do things you never thought you'd do. I mean, really, it's true. And you'll look back over time and you will say to yourself, I can't believe I put up with this. I can't believe that I reacted that way after they finally pushed you to the point where you had to. So it gets to the heart of this. Why do you put up with the abuse? I did a video on that too recently. This is a big part of it. This state of being that they get you stuck in is what many people call the trauma bond. If you're familiar with it, if you're not, I'm going to tell you now. The trauma bond is this state of existence they put you in when you are basically a shell of yourself, confused, you don't know heads or tails, you don't know if you're coming or going, you can't make simple decisions because you are so in a fog. And the narcissistic fog is a little bit different. But mainly with the trauma bond, this is a situation where you cannot break free of this person because you are basically addicted to them. You know, you can be addicted to things in life. Some people are addicted to watching things they shouldn't watch. Some people are addicted to alcohol, drugs, a lot of addictions. Well, the trauma bond is basically an addiction that you have with the narcissist. So before getting into the really ugly part of it, how do you get to that place? Well, you get to that place because when you met them, they presented the best possible version of themselves to you, or something of the sort, which was an act, a mask, a fake, a phony. We know that. That's the person you met. And then you came to truly like, love, or appreciate in some way strongly this person because of what they presented to you. And then at a decisive and key point as time goes on, usually when they know they have you, you've confessed your love, or you're engaged, or you have gotten pregnant together, Lord forbid, or you've gotten married, Lord forbid, that's when they know they have you. And that's when all the beautiful things about that person that you thought was real comes to a crashing halt. And that's when the devaluation stage begins. That's when the mask slips down off their face a little bit and you get to see a look at the wretched monster that they are. And from that point on, you've entered what they call the deval, and it's a roller coaster ride. up and down. It's a toxic pattern that you're stuck in, where they pick you way up high and drop you. Way up high and drop you. Boom, splat. Over and over and over they do this to you. That cycle, that toxic abusive cycle, where they beat you to the ground, beat you to oblivion, and you stay because of what you saw at the beginning. You're trying to get back, right? Well, then decisively, the breadcrumbing comes, where they show you a little pinch, a little hint of that person they used to be. Really, when you're desperate and you need it and you're pulling away, they come in, where are you going? Get back here. I've got some mini love bomb for you. And that's how they keep you intoxicated. Anyway, this cycle of abuse and then breadcrumbing, abuse and breadcrumbing, pow, pow, pow. Oh, honey, I love you. You're the greatest. Let's have a week. Pow, pow, pow. That is what creates the trauma bond. Where basically your abuser becomes the only person who can soothe you. So they abuse you, yet they soothe you. Abuse, soothe, abuse, soothe. You can see how this happens with parents in this kind of relationship. What they might do with their kids. Abuse them, then they come in and, oh, honey, I love you, and we're going to have a better future, and we're going to have a better day tomorrow, and, well, 2 days later, they're beating on the kid again. And the kid is like, poor kids. The children who go through this stuff, as Jesus said, it's going to be better off for the people who offend these children. It's going to be better off if they had a millstone thrown around their neck and thrown into the sea. A millstone tied around their neck and thrown into the sea. Terrible thing that they abuse these children. But the point is, this is what they do. This back and forth toxic cycle, that's what creates the trauma bond. That's what creates it, okay? Well, it's way worse than that, actually. If you have been through it, you understand. I have looked into so many videos and heard so many accounts, and I know what I experienced. And I'll share that with you in a second. But I have heard so many people say that literally breaking free of the trauma bond created from the narcissist and their abuse and their toxic abusive pattern was the hardest thing they've ever done in their entire life. Some of these people, maybe they've gone through cancer. Maybe they've gone through losing all their finances and bankruptcy. Maybe they were abused as children. Maybe they've been through an awful lot, and they'll say, all of that stuff pales in comparison to the trauma bond that I went through. It's that strong. It's that deadly, guys. It's horrible. It's horrible. This is exactly why people stay stuck and they can't get out. And this is why the narcissist is able to hoover so many people, and they keep in this little what people call the harem garage. It's these people that can't break free. They don't come to understand it, and they're so trauma bonded that even years go by and the narcissist can still come and hoover that person when they want to, because they're still stuck. They're bonded to them, and they didn't figure it out, and they didn't get out. So I can tell you my experience, and I will be honest with you, trauma bond was the worst thing I've ever gone through. And I'm not going to sit here and sound like a martyr. I'm not going to tell you that I've had a horrible life. But I can tell you that I've gone through some things pretty rough. One of them included a physical illness that I went through for probably 6 to 8 months that no one could figure out. By the grace of God, I finally did figure it out. And it was a severe vitamin deficiency caused by a lot of other stressful things that had happened to me. And it almost killed me. I went 5 days and nights consecutively without sleeping. And I mean at all. I didn't sleep at all. 5 days. I was hallucinating, and I thought I was going to die. And I frankly was probably close. Point is, that whole period I went through, it was not as bad as the trauma bond. It wasn't. I've never in all my days experienced something. And it feels like this. It feels like this completely unnatural, horribly unhealthy feeling toward a person, that there is nothing else in the entire world that can make you feel better than to be with that person. You break up many times, you get back together many times because you can't break free of them. It's this hunger, it's this insatiable desire that's almost like a magnetic pull toward that person. You'll find yourself thinking about them absolutely non-stop. There's nothing else in the world. You crave them. You're wondering where they are. When's the next text going to come? What are they doing right now? You have what's called FOMO, fear of missing out on whatever the narcissist is doing. You feel this magnetic attraction that you can't put into words. It's like a sick, deep down hunger that is literally impossible to satiate. It's like they replaced your energy, and they gave you that void, that hole that can't be replaced for that period of time, and that only they can soothe you and fill that hole. If you've been through it, you know what I'm talking about. So this is one of the tactics that they use against you. They weaponize this. They know full well what this is. Even if they don't know it's a trauma bond, they know that they put people in a situation where they can't break free and they can't break loose. They know it, and they'll admit it oftentimes. I've heard of narcissists and heard the narcissist say similar things about how they can get exes back anytime they want. How they have people that stalked them and were just stuck on them and couldn't let them go. And when you're in the relationship, and this is not just me, this is very, very frequent. This is very, very frequent. When you're in that relationship, you're thinking, because you're trauma bonded to them, this is really weird. Like, these people stalked you. They can't leave you alone. They just can't leave you alone. Well, then you understand why. You see, the trauma bond, guys, the dirty little secret is, that's the clinical term that they use for this. The reality of it is, it's a spell. It's the narcissistic spell. It's not mental as much as it is spiritual. You can only feel that sickness, that raw hunger to be with somebody, unless you can't feel that unless it's spiritual in nature. That's why I always say narcissism is a spiritual disorder. It's a spiritual issue. These people are shot, busted, corrupt, ill, morally depraved, reprobates most of the time. I'll grab a swig of coffee here. The spiritual spell, the narcissistic spell, is what keeps you there. It's what makes you get stuck to them. It's unlike anything in the world. It's unfathomable. It truly is why things last and go on and on and on and on and on with the narcissist. Because you can't let them go. Now think about this in context with a regular relationship, with a healthy, decent, healthy person. It's not like that, is it? If you break up with them, or they break up with you, or you part ways, it doesn't feel like that at all. See, I've been there too, where with a relatively normal person, and it doesn't work out for whatever reason, and you go your own way. Maybe you don't shake hands and hug, but it's not vitriolic. It's not toxic, and you do not feel like you cannot possibly dream of not having that person in your sight, by your side, next to you. You don't hunger for them. You don't ruminate about them nonstop, night and day, every day, where you can't take a walk. You can't do your daily prayers. You can't do daily scripture reading. You can't go fishing or hiking or for a drive. You can't work. You cannot work because that person is so much in your mind all the time. Now you tell me that that's not spiritual. If that's not a spiritual problem, then what on earth is, guys? I know that on this channel and others, I've lost some subscribers, and so do many other people. They talk about it a lot. Anytime they talk about narcissism being spiritual in nature, certain people just cash out. They're not going to go there. Well, I'm never going to stop calling it for what it is. It's a spiritual problem. And the fact that you're so drawn and so craving this person tells you that. But let me say this too. This doesn't have to be the romantic relationship. Believe me, I think it's 15, 20, 30 times worse in a romantic relationship because the proximity, the amount of time you spent, the nature of the relationship, the romantic, physical nature of the relationship, all those things really further bind you to them. But if you're in a friendship with a narcissist, you still know what I'm talking about. Because it may not be the same, but you can feel it. That uneasiness where like you can't let them go, but you feel uneasy when they're there. It's that weird little pull that's hard to explain of why you just can't quite distance yourself from that person. It's because it's a little mini trauma bond. They've probably abused you enough and done the toxic push-pull where they love bomb you in a friendship way, then they degrade you, then they're good to you, then they degrade you. You're feeling a little bit of that trauma bond. You are. Now, take that, amplify it by, like I said, 15, 20, 30, 100, I don't know. And that's what it's like to be in a relationship with one of these people. Parent and child, same deal. They're trauma bonded. The narcissist that I knew was with her son, horribly trauma bonded. Walked on eggshells all the time. Worried night and day about what his mom thought. Always. Feel so sorry for him. But it's trauma bond. It's the narcissistic spell that they put you in. So guys, this is one of their greatest torture tactics. And like I said earlier, if you don't think they know what they're doing, they do. This is why they might even say, and again, I've heard it, but guys, everybody who goes through this hears similar things or deals with similar things. They will tell you that their exes have a hard time getting away, but they'll tell you in a myriad of ways why you can't escape from them. This is why they don't think you're ever going to leave. This is why when you do and you break and you go no contact, it blows their mind. Because they thought, I know I had this person trauma bonded. I know I had him. How could they have blocked me out? I had him. Just like all these other exes and all these other friends that put up with my nonsense and my bullish behavior. They thought they had you. Just like they thought they had me. This is how they operate. And they will tell you this. I know people act out of character when I'm with them. Have you been doing this? I know I make people act out of character. Well, how do they know that? Because they've been through it over and over and over. They know what they're doing. They know when they put you in the devaluation stage of push and pull, they know they're creating in you this thing. Whether they call it a trauma bond or they don't. They know they're creating this power, this energetic power between you guys, you and the narcissist. And they know how daggone hard it is to break out of it. They put you there by design. Or better yet, should I say, the demons in control of them put you there by design. They put you under a spell. You see, the narcissist, guys, is Satan in disguise. He's a satanic. They're satanic foot soldiers. They're carbon copies. They're wind-up toys that he sends into your life to blow you up. And the trauma bond is one of their greatest tactics. Absolutely satanic, absolutely filthy, and virtually impossible to break out of. So if you've experienced the trauma bond and you know what I'm talking about, drop comments below. If it's not clear to you and you're trying to figure out, ask me. Ask me if I can maybe further explain it to you. So drop comments below on that too. But I'm telling you, this is part of what makes the narcissistic relationship unlike anything else you've ever gone through or will ever go through. This bond, this attachment you feel to them afterwards is unparalleled. It will supersede, oftentimes, the worst of anything you've ever gone through. Lost your house, maybe lost your finances, lost your marriage, been sick, been to the point of death, been abused, been tortured, whatever you've gone through, this is probably worse. And it was for me. And it was for almost everybody I've ever heard. So their biggest thing, the one of the biggest things they have, their torture, their Rolodex of torture. Gaslighting, manipulation, trauma bond. Fierce. It's fierce, guys. It's so bad. So I hope that this makes sense of it and why people stay in these relationships and how hard it is to get out and why sometimes people don't make it out and they're not here with us anymore, if you know what I mean. It happens all the time. So I hope this gives you some information, gives you some insight into what makes these people tick and how hard it is to break free. And one of the many, many torture tactics they have, the spell, the narcissistic spell. So anyway, guys, I hope that you're enjoying this content. If you didn't hear about the smartphone, go back and check that video out as well. I've got more to come. Not sure if it'll be another video like this next time or a different topic, but I'm going to keep sprinkling in these tactics that they have because, man, you put them all together, it is horrific abuse. It really is. These people are evil. Plain and simple, flat out. Avoid such a person. Avoid such a person. All right, guys, until next time, hope you enjoyed it. See you then. God bless.